Sometimes I need an excuse for this. Sometimes I don't even need an excuse. You cannot starve the whole people of Gaza because a Qassam missile was launched from Gaza. Of course you can. You know what I mean when I say you can't. You don't destroy a whole neighborhood in America because there is a gang there that robbed the bank, killed, killed even innocent civilians. You don't use F-16 to bomb that neighborhood.
Yes, that pulls it into focus, I think, that comparison, right?
And therefore I think it's part of an ideology, a worldview. And I think what is so elusive for us as academics is the smoking gun question, the empirical question. I don't think there is a document in Israeli military headquarters that says, all these retaliations are actually part of our strategy and so on. Every now and then, it slips for them. When the Israeli chief of the general staff says about what they call the Dahaya doctrine, that is, Dahaya was the Shiite neighborhood of Beirut that in 2006 was carpet bombed by Israel. And he explained that the Dahaya doctrine is you engrave in the, how they put it, he said you sort of make sure that the people would be burnt in such a way, I don't remember exactly his word, but there was something there about making them suffer in such a way that they will not do it again. Okay, something like that. So he admitted that there was a collective punishment so that the community would not support any more insurgency or something like that.
That phrasing reminds me almost directly of what I've read and heard about how the British reacted to the Arab revolts in the 30s.
Absolutely. They're using the repertoire. I remember one PhD student in Haifa writing about how the Israeli army were using the repertoire of the British in 36 to 39.
That's interesting. Do you think there was direct continuity there, or is it just any occupying force?
There was direct continuity. Unfortunately, Frantz Fanon wrote about it. This is true not about only settler colonialism. It's true about post-colonialism as well. The secret service of the liberated people used the same techniques that the colonialist power used against their enemies. That's unfortunate.
It's effective, I
suppose.
effective.
Yeah, exactly. They don't need to invent the wheel.
Right.
So it's not surprising that the Israelis are using the same methods that the British used, not only in Palestine, also in Kenya and elsewhere. The whole Israel is built on emergency regulations that allows the democracy actually to forget about its democracy.
Is there an argument then to be made, maybe this is stretching, but is there an argument to be made that Israel's behavior is essentially the culmination of centuries of what the British learned as being an occupying colonial force around the world? They honed their techniques, and what we saw in Palestine was really the peak and essentially the end of the British colonial project. Yeah. So they had refined these practices, and the Israelis inherited them.
They did, although the peak comes in Kenya against the Mau there, really what the British did in the 50s, and also in Malaysia and Indonesia. They still have an extra mile to go in the 50s with teaching us how to punish whole populations for a war of liberation. But yes, I think it's part of it. And Israel, what annoys me with Israel is always not that it's exceptionally bad or that it did the Palestinians things that nobody else did in the world. They're not. There are two things. First of all is the righteous fury that goes along with the Israeli reaction when their crimes are being exposed. Their inability to acknowledge these crimes, their inability to see the connection between the acknowledgement of the crimes and the chances of reconciliation, as was admitted by the white community in South Africa, and we're far away from that. But without that, there will be no peace here. And secondly, of course, is this basic idea with which I don't know how to deal with it, but it won't help, which is inherently part of any settler colonial movement. The native becomes the immigrant, the alien.
Conceptually within Israeli
Well,
society.
it's society, and what can you do? I mean, Israelis can really go to Europe as experts and say to the British and the Belgium, we can advise you how to deal with Muslim immigrants because we have a similar problem. I heard it with my own ears. They really say, don't worry, we even have a bigger problem than you are. The Muslim immigrants in our society is much bigger in percentage than in yours. So we knew how to, Israel Katz said it, Jeff Alper quotes him in his new book, brilliant book, in which Israel Katz, the Minister of Transport, he comes to Belgium after the attacks on Brussels, and he says...
This was recently, within the past 2 years.
Very recently, he said, Israel has a huge Muslim population, many of them are terrorists, and we know how to deal with it. You have a small community, let us advise you. We know how to do it. So the Palestinians, I'm not talking even about the fact that Palestinians are all Muslims and terrorists. Forget about that. They are immigrants. They are like the Muslims who came from Morocco to Brussels. That's the basic Israeli notion.
Right, so it's almost this Kafkaesque...
Exactly. And what is amazing that they thought about them like that in 48.